So you don't overhaul the whole thing and change all the slides and basically do a brand new pitch. You just look at how can we tweak, optimize, adjust, edit 10% maximum. It doesn't even have to be 10%, but 10% max per iteration, per attempt. And when you do that, you'll typically find that you'll do 10 of these things in, within like 12 months. And then eventually you'll have a really amazing front end that converted. It was clear, it was concise. And then you can use that in an evergreen fashion for years and still bring people through. So the idea of doing it live is to do it so well that one of those live sessions turns into a recording that you can now leverage. The name of the game isn't to keep doing it live forever. That's just part of the learning process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that help?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So let's get into your question here. I feel paralyzed with what to do. It's like starting a race, going all in, excited, then tripping over the starting line. Wouldn't that be a funny video on Instagram, right? After last session, you made me question my playbook, but because there have been so many different differences, I now feel lost. I'm either hustling and having great months, or I try to enjoy life and it's then crickets. Yes, totally. I'm interested to know your playbook. Get the numbers in, send a web class and discovery process and get them at the business setup call stage, or get them on a discovery call first without a web class and create that connection before the discovery process. Will there ever be a time the hustling stops? Yeah, so we kind of just briefly sort of touched on that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that you got to remember, right? Is most people have a very hard time with strategically balancing their lifestyle and balancing their time. When people think about balance, they typically assume that everything is spread out in equal proportions. So you have fun the same amount of time that you work your business, or you are with the family the same amount of time that you're working on your business. And that's not actually balance. Technically, you're never in full balance ever, right? It's not possible for you to be spread across all these different categories of life perfectly evenly all the time. It's just not realistic. Anybody who's ambitious, who has big goals, big dreams, they're going to be out of balance towards the growth that they want to double down on. So where you need to think about is when you're learning the skill of business, repetition matters. Calls, how many you can do, because you continuing to do calls, for example, we talked about this before, where you do a bunch of calls back to back to back to back, you actually build momentum because everything's so fresh in your mind that you're learning from your mistakes in real time. You're learning from the potential prospects, their questions, their objections in real time. So if you kind of mess it up on one call, you have another opportunity to do better literally the next call or like the same day, versus what some people do is they do one call, they get all hyped up about it. Oh my God, I'm going to close a quad for sure today on my one call. And then that call doesn't go well. And then they're bummed out and they have all this time to sulk and moan and bitch and complain and doubt themselves and worry if they're doing the right thing and should they do something else, because there's all this time between the next call. The next call is not for 2 days. So you're like screwing yourself for 2 days instead of back to back to back to back. And then at the end of the day, let's say 2 calls went awesome and 4 calls were okay and 1 call was horrible. You're still not going to be in the dumps about it because you have some positive wins that you had, as well as some learning opportunities, right? So that's why you want to have the repetition. Now, when it comes to fun, quality time with family, things that you enjoy, passions, it's more about quality, not quantity. So you don't need to be doing 5 hours a day with the kids every single day of like park and fun and ice cream and, the fair and the movies and like all this like big stuff. It could actually be more quality focused. Like you're actually present. You put your phone away, you're playing with them, you're engaged with them for an hour, is going to give them more connection and love than 5 hours of trying to juggle everything and you're cooking and you're on your phone and, got the TV on and all these things. That is a lot less of connection, even though you're like, I was with the kids all day. It's what I'm supposed to do, as an example. So what I always suggest is, as the week is coming up, either on Saturday, Sunday, whatever works for you, strategically plan when you're going to do what coming up on the week that checks off a few of these boxes. So if you have, like, do you have kids? I'm not sure if you have kids. I don't remember.
Yeah, I got a 17-month-old.
Beautiful.
So it's busy.
Exactly. Beautiful. So as the 17-month-old is like starts to be around 2 and 3, I started to do like daddy-daughter dates with my daughter, daddy-daughter days on Wednesdays every week. And I wouldn't have any calls, I wouldn't work nothing, and we'd go do different fun activities for the day. But because it was such great connection, on some of the other days, I would only be present, like really with her for like 2 hours out of the day. My wife would be with her and I'd be busy and doing other stuff. But the bond and the connection of like that full day together, me and my daughter, was more valuable than me being in and out all week long and never really having that long stretch of connection. So you can kind of decide and choose those types of things. Now, when it comes to you personally, maybe you love to go to the gym, or maybe you love to get your nails done or read a book in nature. I don't know, whatever it might be. So you have to strategically put those things into the calendar before the week starts, and so that they have a spot for them, but it might only be 5 to 10 hours of your whole week. Make sense? And
Yep.
so instead of going all in on enjoying your life and then your business bombs and nothing happens, or only working on your business and your personal life suffers, you actually just have to be a little bit strategic about when certain things happen and document the fun through B-roll and through behind the scenes type of content that you can then leverage in your work time. And then you end up realizing that everything's just all connected, right? There's technically no work-life balance. It's just all life.
Yeah.
That's the business model we're in, is that everything's connected, right?
Yeah.
In traditional careers, it's like leave your work at the office, shut everything out at 5 p.m., turn it off. You don't give a shit till 9 a.m. the next morning. That's not how we do things here. Everything here is intertwined, right? But you
Yeah.
still can't be doing work stuff when you're with family, or else they're going to feel neglected and ignored and you're not present stuff. So you still have to find a way to turn it on and off, but you're still strategically thinking like, if I go do this fun family activity, there's content here that I can also capture, that I can put some captions on and talk about, like, I get to do this more because of my business than when I had my previous career. And there's always that comparison, like contrast. Contrast is one of the best ways to sell this business and sell everything we do. Is I used to have it like this. This is what was good about it. This was what was bad about it. And now I have it like this, and this is what's good about it, and this is what's hard about it, right? You don't want to make it seem like this business is super easy and it's always fun and all that. It's not true. There's pros and cons to everything. There's an equal balance in everything we do. We just have to decide that the pros and cons of this are greater and better for us specifically than the pros and cons of other things. Because certain people out there are like, I don't want that. I'd rather do the 9 to 5. That just makes more sense for me. And that's perfectly fine. If everybody did this business, we'd be screwed, because there wouldn't be people fixing the roads and making me coffee and pumping my gas and all these other things, right? Like, I'm grateful that people don't want to all do this. Like, yeah, you do all that. We need you in society. Thank you very much. You know what I mean? So everybody
Yeah.
gets to pick and choose. So let me ask you this question. When you feel like you're hustling, what is that tipping point where you feel like you're over hustling? Like, at what point do you feel like you've worked too long or too many hours, or it's overwhelming? Like, do you get a comment from your family, you always work all night? Or, is it something like that that triggers you to feel like you're over hustling, or what is it?
I think it's more about what's going on in my head. Like, it's like, right, I need to do some content, or like, oh, I've re-recorded my web class, and like, oh, shall I start sharing my web class straight from an advert, or should I be jumping on discovery calls and not doing a web class? Should I be doing it this way? And my head is just like, is this the right way or is this the wrong way? Oh, and I need to do this and I need to do that. So then my baby still wakes me up every 2 hours at night. And I hold on to the fact that I'm still going to the gym, I'm still showing up, I'm still doing stuff. But at times I'm like, I don't think I should drive because I am just so exhausted. Like, my head is just business, business, but in a good way. Like, it's exciting, but then it's also like, should I be doing it this way? Should I be doing it that way? And then adding on the fact that I'm still being woken up every couple of hours at night feeding my baby.
Yeah, but you got to remember that this, first of all, what you're describing is completely normal. So the fact that you are a mother to a 17-month-old and have this ambition and this drive and this consistency is next level. It's super inspiring. It's probably not the normal from new mothers at all. And so give yourself that recognition. And I think if you were to compare yourself, what if you didn't have this business and everything else was the same and you had your previous job and previous career? What do you think you would be doing with this time that you have, that you're now putting towards your business? What do you think other moms are doing with that time?
Like, yeah, just wasting it. Just, the evenings, it's just watching TV, isn't it? Because you can't go anywhere. Your baby, you got your baby,
Totally.
and then when you are with your baby, if well, it's even simple things like when he naps, that's when I get work done and I pay for a cleaner so that I don't have to clean the house. It's little
Exactly.
things like that, isn't it? It's like
No,
actually
true.
very,
It's
very
just a
grateful
different,
for
it's
this.
a different point of view. So
Yeah.
I think like your mindset has to be thinking, how can I get the maximum amount of leverage from the things that you're going to be doing anyways? You know what I mean? So even like when you're playing with the baby or changing the baby or the baby's having a nap and you're like just on a sofa or something like that, or you're preparing food or dinner, like you can literally get these little B-roll clips on a tripod and like leverage that because you're doing that stuff anyway. So you're not technically creating content, you're documenting content.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of pressure off of you. Secondarily, is your life as it is right now, like your circumstances, your schedule, the busyness, the 2 hour wake windows is perfect as it is. It doesn't need to be something different. A lot of the times we put this pressure on ourselves, like, I'm not traveling enough, I'm not having enough fun, I'm not going and doing enough things because everyone else is doing it, but I'm just in this like season of simplicity and repetition and it's the same old, same old. It's perfect as it is because you're
Yeah.
still building it and growing it to some place that you want to be in terms of your lifestyle, your income, your freedom for your family in the future. And you're building towards that, which is super awesome and inspiring. So keep that in mind. It's perfect as it is. Doesn't need to be something that it's not, and just own it. And then the
Yeah.
other thing is like in terms of processes, when you're saying, should I do a discovery call? Should I do this? Should I do that? It's the right way, it's the wrong way. None of that is true. It's just the way that works best for you. And those things change based on your circumstances. Like if your baby is napping 2 or 3 times a day, then you have a different amount of flexibility towards your process than if all of a sudden you're with your kid way more and you have less available time. Then you're going to think more leverage and automation and pre-qualification and applications and things like this because you don't have the capacity to be in the DMs and having all these chats and doing all these things. So naturally that will change and you will have to make it work. But when you connect with somebody at the moment, because I'm assuming you've tried different ways of doing things, which way feels the best for you, where you feel like your positioning is strong, you're the one doing, like you're picking them, they're not picking you. What feels the most authentically the way you like to build the business?
In all honesty, just hopping on a 20-minute call and having a bit of a chat with them to see their vibe, see where they're at, see what's going on for them. Why do they want to do this?
Before everything else.
Yeah.
Then
Wow.
that's what
Yeah.
you should probably do. I would have an application that they
Mm.
fill out first. Pick a handful of questions that make you automatically know whether or not they're worth 20 minutes of your time, because that's still 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, but there's a bit of DM like chat from an advert, isn't
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
So try to still be conscious of your time and then ask yourself in a perfect world in a single day, how many of those 20-minute introductory calls would you like to do in one day on average?
Do you know what? It really lights me up. Like I'm a therapist by profession, so actually chatting to people is actually something I love. And if we get our kids on it as well, it's even better. So even just like 3 or 4 is actually really lovely. Maybe not every day, but
Okay, so pick your schedule. Which days are the no call days and stick to
Mm,
create that boundary. So even
yeah.
if the prospect says, I want to get on a call right now, and it happens to be your day that you're saying you don't like to do calls, honor that.
Mm,
It gives you
yeah.
power. It gives you power to hold those boundaries for someone who wants to work with you because they're seeing an example of, oh, I get to actually call the own shots in my life. So once I
Mm,
partner with you and I say I don't do calls on Sundays, I don't do calls on Sundays for nobody. That's the standard. And they will obviously at first be like, oh, well, what if I'm ready to buy right now? It's like, well, then you can still talk to me on Monday. And I start my calls at 11 a.m. or whatever the appropriate time is for you. And so that's very important. And then the next thing is how many leads are you generating in a month compared to the amount of available time you have for these 20-minute calls? Like, let's say
mm.
you have 15 to 20 calls a week available and let's call that 60 to 80 a month. Are you getting 200 leads, 300 leads or more in a month at the moment?
Yeah, about 300 leads a month on my ad at the moment.
And then out of those leads, how many of them are like purchasing, going through the whole process and like getting started with you on average? Like what's the percentage of conversions from 300 leads to buyers?
And that's where it's going downhill at the moment. It's just the quality isn't that great. Like some very slow burners from some very slow people.
So that's what you got to change
Yeah.
is how can you call in people that are not thinking about it, but they're ready to go?
Mm,
Because the truth is that there's different people in different lanes of being a buyer. And some of them are, they have like buyer's intentions, like they're
mm,
ready to go. And usually that means that their timeline is more urgent, right?
mm.
They're not like laxy daisy. We'll see how it goes one day after summer, after the spring break, after Christmas. It's always later, later, later. They're like, no, I've been waiting long enough. I'm ready to go now. I need to start this now. So you have to talk to them in that way where the language is they're ready to go now. They're ready to
Yeah.
take action. They're ready to make changes and putting that into your content and calling those people forward. So you're not wasting those 20-minute introductory calls on a bunch of people going too slow because that's still going to be a waste of time for you. You know what I mean? And then sticking to the process that works. You could even do a pre-recorded video that's like a minute or two, send that to your leads in the DMs and just explain your actual circumstances. Hey, what's up? I've been doing this business for this long. I have a 17-month-old baby. I'm busy. I'm feeding. I'm doing this and that. And that's the best part about this business. I get to stay true to my family. I'm very respectful of my time. I'm respectful of your time. And so therefore I wanted to send you this quick video to make sure that this, and this is true for you. And if it is, then I'm happy to jump on a 20-minute discovery call to see if we're a good match to work together. But if you're not this, or this, then please be respectful of my time and just let's not take the next step. I'd rather
Mm.
be with my baby. If you're speaking this type of way to mothers, they're going to be like, yeah, I want that. What she just said. I want to be able to say that same thing to other people. See what I'm saying? So you're always a representation of like, you think you're coming across rude or direct or aggressive. No, the women will respect it. They're like, I wish I could say that. At the moment, I'm on maternity leave or I'm afraid of the future or all these other things. But she's basically saying, like, if you're not worth my time, I'm not going to waste my time on you. Respect. See what I'm saying? So these are all ways that you can call these people forward that are going to be, when you get on the call with them, they're going to be like, hey, I really appreciate that you were so direct with me because it made me realize that I am ready. Everyone's going to say that to you on the call. They're like, your video, your pre-qualification made me realize I'm super ready
I
because
think that's certainly
they have that
something
choice to make.
yeah, that's something I certainly have to work with. I'm just too nice. And I know I am. Again, it's a therapist in me. I'm just too nice. So
But
it's a
think about,
definite mindset shift I need to work on.
yeah, definitely. And you have to detach from this thought that it's about nice or not nice. It's not about
Yeah.
nice or not nice. You're still going to be nice. It's actually more about why they're there, right? Imagine you went to therapy or someone went to you and you're the therapist and there was no therapy being done whatsoever.
Yeah.
How disappointing would someone be to pay you to be the therapist and you talked about something completely irrelevant that had nothing to do with therapy? I got zero value and maybe you were nice and we had a great conversation, but I left there being like, what just happened? Like that was
Yes.
therapy. I'm more lost and more confused than before the session, right? Wouldn't make sense. So in this case, the same thing is happening. They're showing up being like, I got a problem and you have a solution based on your content and I'm here for you to help me with that. And they're walking away being like, why is she so nice?
Yeah.
Like she was nice, but she didn't help me solve my problem. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? There's a mismatch.
Yeah.
So what you need to be mindful of is that the more direct you are to get the outcome that they're there for, the more appreciative they're going to be. They're going to be like, thank you. You can still be kind. You can still be nice. You can still be respectful. You can still listen and use all the therapy skills that you have, people skills that you have. All of that stuff is great. But you also have to remember, like, at the end of the year, right? Kids grow up really quickly, as I'm sure you're already noticing. And when you look at the end of the year, here's how I want you to reframe everything. How many 20-minute calls did you do that were a complete waste of time that you could have been with your kid?
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting to the end of the year and you're too nice and you did all these calls that had 0% chance of getting started and you lost hours upon hours or days upon days that you could have just had with your child and it would have made no difference to your income? Like,
Mm,
that's crazy, right? So you
yeah.
have to be like, what amount of money in terms of commissions is worth it for me to not be with my child for 20 minutes? And you got to track all of this stuff. So at the end of the week, you're like, I've done 10 calls, two of them bought. I made this much money. Let's call it 4 grand just for simple math. And then you go 4 grand divided by 10 calls. I make $400 a call, whether they buy or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I used to count when I did door-to-door sales. I took the money that I made in a day and I divided it by the number of doors I knocked to find out how much I get paid every time I knock a door, even if the door never opened. Knock, knock, $10. Knock, knock, $10. Knock, knock, 10. Do you think I had a smile on my face when the person told me to go F myself? I was like, thanks for the $10, bro. Have a nice one. They're so confused because I was getting paid regardless. But what most people do is they only count the commissions on the sales that get closed, not realizing that the sales or the calls they did that didn't close contributed to that close. Does that make sense? Because we know that every 10 calls, 2 people buy, or every 10 calls, whatever the number is. So you take the commission you earned off of the final sale and you divide it by all the calls you did to get $1 per call. Now everything changes. You're like, oh man, I'm getting $400 every 20-minute call. Yeah, shit, that's nice. That's good. Let's do that more often, or whatever the number is. I'm just, these are all hypothetical numbers. You get what I'm saying? So have more fun with it. Be more direct. Still be kind. Still be respectful. But just cut to the chase. If you're here to waste my time, we're not getting on a call.
Yeah.
If you're unsure, if you're a maybe, you're not sure if you're serious. I have this live masterclass recording. Watch this first, then message me back. And if you're like for sure serious, then we'll do the call. So you get to kind of pick and choose. You don't always have to have the same strategy.